Hi, it's Mike Thornton here from Production Expert, and today we're taking a look at a brand new version of SoundFlow 3. Now this is a very, very clever system which enables us to do all sorts of clever things within Pro Tools with shortcuts and macros, and we've got a new version come out, and I'm joined here by Christian from SoundFlow. Welcome, Christian.
Hi, Mike.
SoundFlow, give us a sort of introduction for someone who's like in the elevator pitch, never seen it before. What's it all about?
All right. So, basically I'm a sound designer and composer. And 8 years ago, I was super tired of having to click on small buttons all day in Pro Tools, basically. So we started making this app to let us able to make shortcuts for it, as you said. 2 years ago, that was launched as our first product with 103 shortcuts for Pro Tools. A year later, we had turned that into a platform in which you can build your own scripts and do your own workflows. But one important thing was missing there, and that was for the regular user to be able to build their own macros. So what's essentially really new in SoundFlow 3 is the ability for non-technical users to make their own automated workflows in DAW software like Pro Tools, but also Isotope, SoundMiner, Finder, and essentially any other Mac OS app.
But it is obviously Mac OS only.
At this point in time, yes, that's correct.
Give us a bit of a taste about some of the things that you can do with SoundFlow.
Let's take a look first at the app itself. It runs in the background. There's a little icon here. And then you can open up this editor app. In the front page, you'll see a list of the installed apps you have. And then here on the editor page, you'll have access to all of your macros and the decks you've created and so forth. So let's take a look at some of the default shortcuts and workflows that come with SoundFlow for Pro Tools. So you can see here are all the categories that we have for controlling Pro Tools. In total, we have over 500 different commands. So for now, I'm just going to show you just a couple.
Sure. Yeah, just give us a taste.
Yeah, so one of the features that people really like about mixing and editing with SoundFlow is the ability to call up inserts and sends just by the numbers on your regular keyboard. So instead of having to click these small buttons, you can just press the number 3 to get the third insert on the selected track. So let's see, I'm editing dialogue. I can quickly just call up and hide any inserts. The same goes for the sends. Just via Shift 1, 2, 3, 4, I can call them up, and with Q, I can bring up the mixer output. So this seems like a small feature, but it really speeds up workflows. If you combine this with the automation shortcuts down here, you can really quickly go in, change something in your EQ, select some clips, make sure to write to selection, and then it'll close your windows again.
So you've just done a write automation, effectively snapshot automation for those two clips.
Correct.
Got it.
And if you saw it, the automation warning dialog came up, but it intelligently noted that we were not overriding the whole session, so it closed that
dismissed
dialog again.
But obviously, if we were about to do something that warning dialog is designed to do, then it wouldn't have dismissed it.
Exactly. Yeah. And in newer versions of Pro Tools, this can be omitted completely, I think, because there's a new setting. So this was designed prior to that. But another thing that really comes up is the ability to search Audio Suite plugins. So let's say I just hit Control A and I get a complete list of all my Audio Suite plugins. But I can search for a category or by the name of the plugin. And I can also assign commands specifically to go into, for example, Altiverb here.
What does your shortcut and those tools bring to the table that the relatively recent added search feature that Avid added to Pro Tools reasonably recently? What can you do that can't do, as it were?
Avid added a search here in the inserts.
Yeah.
And they so far don't have a search feature for the Audio Suite version. So yeah. And then we have as well, let's say I want my Notre Dame preset. I can search for all the presets within the open Audio Suite plugin. Yeah. So, and if I want to render this, I hit a button, and then by one button, I can close all the floating windows that I don't want. So it's just a way to completely stay on the keyboard while doing editing things like this. Of course, with the macros in SoundFlow, you could fully automate this whole workflow. Let's say you select some clips and then you want it to open Altiverb Audio Suite plugin, select a preset, render it, and close the window again.
Yeah, so you could create a macro that does all of that in one hit of a button.
Exactly. So another thing that really helps users is our functions for vertical and horizontal navigation in the session. So if you're working on a feature film or a TV show, you likely have a lot of material, and it can be difficult to sort of remember where was that particular scene. If you're intelligent about using markers and labeling each scene, via our marker search, just Control M, you can quickly search for, I want to go to the bedroom scene where JP is lying flat, and it'll jump us right there. You can see this was now selected.
Yeah, yeah.
Correspondingly, we also have features to jump to the next or previous marker, or to select between markers. And you can also combine this with other commands, for example, to cut backgrounds so that they stay within the scene boundaries. So this really helps with the horizontal navigation. If we look at the vertical navigation, a lot of the time that's about finding the track that a certain sound is on. So here I have my overview layout, which is of all the VCA faders. And then with Control Tab, I can toggle open the contents of this VCA feeder.
Yeah, so it's a kind of VCA spill, is it? For, spill
Exactly.
out the VCAs, yeah.
Yeah, just without the console.
Yes.
So this, again, this is something just right at your keyboard. You don't need anything else for it to work.
So that VCA spill comes as standard with SoundFlow?
Correct. This is part of both the SoundFlow Indie and SoundFlow Cloud Pro subscriptions.
Okay, so what about building your own macro? So how would you go about creating your own macro within SoundFlow?
Right. So first, let's come up with an idea. We had a user the other day who wanted a macro for activating SoundMiner and going to the search field. So I could do that here by command tabbing and then clicking up here, of course. But let's say I want that just like this, just one tap, one button. Let's try to create this macro. It's fairly simple. So I hit Control F1 to go into SoundFlow, and then I can click here, new macro. Let's call it go to sound minus search. So now it's just a matter of adding the correct actions and setting their parameters. First, let's say activate an app's main window. And we'll select SoundMiner version 5. So let's just try this one action and see if it works. Yeah.
Okay.
And the next thing is we need to figure out how to select this field. We could either simulate the mouse to click here, but I always want to try to come up with a more intelligent solution than moving the mouse about. And it turns out SoundMiner has a menu item that helps us here. So in the edit menu, there's an item called find.
Yeah.
We could also simulate an Apple F keystroke, but we always want to sort of wait with the keyboard and mouse simulation. So what we need to do is simulate a click on the edit find menu. So I'll add an action, click menu item. I'll need to select the application again. And then it's just a matter of typing edit and find.
Okay, and those were the edit is the edit menu, find is the particular thing in the edit menu. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, and you could have gone through as many sub menus as you would want. Yeah. So just to test this seems to be working. So let's say I want to assign a keyboard trigger to this. I'll just hit new trigger, and then it could be from a MIDI event, an HID device, or...
What's an HID device?
So that would be something like the X keys that I have right here. You can see, hopefully, in the camera. They create sort of customized hardware keyboards. What we use now is mostly the Stream Decks that we'll get around to later. So let's say we just want to add a simple keyboard trigger. So then we can customize it. We can say, well, maybe we only want this keyboard trigger to work when a specific app is focused. Right now, I actually want this to work regardless. So I'll just hit record and press, let's say, F9. And now, no matter where I am, I can press F9 and I get to SoundMiner search field.
Now, what if F9 was already allocated to something? Would SoundFlow be intelligent enough to say, no, it can't do that, that's already in use?
Since SoundFlow works, with a lot of different apps, not only Pro Tools or Cubase, we don't distinguish if this was already in use by a different program, but we do distinguish if it was used by a different place inside SoundFlow. So let's say here I have a trigger to open Gmail.
Yeah.
So let's say I want to add F9 to this one as well. You can now see that it marks this as a conflict, and I can either just remove the other one, or I can go to it and check if I just want to disable this for now, or,
But there isn't effectively an error check to say, well, F9's already used by Pro Tools, or it's down to knowing what the other shortcuts are.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's another way sort of to coexist with the existing shortcuts of Pro Tools. Either you can hit Control Escape to bypass. As you can see, the icon here shows that we're bypassed now. This means no shortcuts work from SoundFlow right now. So whatever F9 would be doing before is now working.
Yeah.
So that's a quick way to bypass it all.
So you talked about HID devices, and of course, presumably that's also the Stream Deck unit. I've also noticed when I've seen around various other tricks that you've got, and I seem to remember there's a really neat Isotope related one. Can you show me that?
Yeah, sure. As you see here in front of me, I have two different Stream Decks. They're made by a company called Elgato, and they're just wonderful. They come with a small app here where you can configure your own devices, but actually we're running them through SoundFlow. So this is another neat feature that I can design a deck directly inside SoundFlow here. And then I can choose which of my Stream Decks I want it to be shown on. And as you can see, this is the same device I have in front of me here. So if I'm changing something, it should reflect down on the Stream Deck.
Yeah.
And all of these icons and decks and everything is included directly in my SoundFlow account, so it moves with me. So if I move to a different computer and they also have a Stream Deck, I can also use this functionality there. So let's take a look at the Isotope package that we've built for dialogue editing. A quick look here, you can see it also comes with a deck, and then it comes with some macros and a lot of scripts. So the way it works is, let's say we have a few lines of dialogue clips that we want to send to Isotope. Normally, you'd have to go into Audio Suite, find, the Isotope Connect, and I already, got lost. So let's see. Let's see how that works with SoundFlow. I just have this Isotope RX6 Advanced Send button. So it'll choose the correct parameters and open everything up here.
So effectively, that was everything that we'd have done with RX Connect.
Correct.
Just from a single button push.
Yeah. And just to go back, as you saw, it changed it to clip by clip, which means that we can now do changes to all of the 3 clips that we are sending, and they'll retain all of their handles.
Yeah.
And also, it changed my Stream Deck to be aware of that I'm now in the Isotope app. So now I can choose, for example, to work on all the clips at the same time. I can run a declick module, for example, say process. It'll now work on all 3. And I can close all my modules and hit send back. And it'll take care of doing all of this for me. And I hit Control-Shift-W, will clear me of all this. So it's just, I can actually do my whole processing with my left hand on the Stream Deck here.
Okay.
And as you can see, it's now marked RX6 Connect.
Nice.
Yeah.
It makes a useful tool even more useful. Of course, all of this is smoothing out workflow. It's saving lots more mousing around. And of course, when you're sat in front of a computer day in, day out, RSI, repetitive strain injury, it can be an issue. And so anything we can do to smooth that out has got to be good news.
Yeah, I completely agree. And to me, honestly, it's more than just getting rid of the mouse moving. It's also a matter of focus. So I feel like if you have to click with your mouse 5 small buttons across, either 1 or 2 or 3 screens, you sort of tend to forget what you're actually thinking about doing. And sometimes it may mean that you don't even send it to Isotope. Maybe it's, you don't bother. So this is a way to make it fun again.
One of the things we've got now are some apps. So perhaps, can you show me the apps that you can put into SoundFlow?
Yeah, sure. So the third tab here of the SoundFlow app is the store. And this is a way for us ourselves and for other users and third parties to develop small packages of decks and scripts and macros and apps and so forth that you can just install with a single click. Let's say you're a different user, not logged in as me, and you want to install this app. You just click install. And then you can click go to package, and you can see here in my installed packages, it now comes up as all the scripts. And for this package, I made a little video describing how you can use it and some documentation.
Nice.
Yeah. So you should be good to go. You can see the deck here.
Yeah.
And I can even simulate being an Isotope, as you can see in front of me, by just clicking show deck.
In terms of these apps, I think there's one about converting video to Avid DNX HD, which has got to be a useful tool.
Yeah. This was another one brought about by endless frustration. So this is the app is called Video Converter for Pro Tools, and I assigned that to Control-Alt-Command-X, so I can just open it up with one click. It's very simple. You just choose whether or not you want to include audio. Should it add timecode? And do you want to add a picture-in-picture, which means it'll in the top left corner of the frame, it'll add a copy of the picture 1 second ahead. So that's useful for Foley. Yeah. So let's see. You just click choose file. You can choose a small video file here, and let's we can wait while it's working in the background. Right. And now we're done. Yeah, and you can see it also opens it up, and it adds just the DNX HD suffix to it. We can just check that it works here in VLC.
And what are you using in the background? Are you using the FFmpeg?
Correct.
All 64-bit friendly and all that, yes.
Yeah.
Because, of course, we lose MPEG string clip with when we move to Catalina. So, yeah, no, that's great.
And QuickTime Player Pro 7 as well, which I know that many are using. Everything in SoundFlow is completely 64-bit.
Good.
Yeah. The one other app that we might want to take a look at that I really am very fond about is our Notes app. So this is how it looks when I open it up. It has the potential for you to add notes directly here, and it'll read the current position in your timeline. So let's say I want to add a note about the dialogue. And you can see it comes up here with the correct timeline. I can also choose to import all the notes from the memory locations and then choose a category for it. So it'll read all the memory locations in your session and convert it to notes.
Effectively, the display of these notes is within Pro Tools and within SoundFlow. So it's not putting the notes into the Pro Tools session in itself in any way.
Right. So this is completely sort of a separate database that actually syncs with the cloud. So you can use these notes from other computers as well. And you do have the option to export it back into memory locations or to clip groups in Pro Tools. You can also generate, for example, an HTML report that'll open up here so you can print it, for example.
Yep.
So this app is actually designed inside SoundFlow itself. So let me just show you how that works. This is what we call our Surface Designer. So I'll go to my Notes package here and find the Notes app. And you can see here that it's actually the same thing going on here. If I click Edit App, you can see this is how I designed the app inside SoundFlow. It's a complete UI designer built in. We can even try moving around.
So
yeah. So you can see it's actually updating the app in real time while it's working. The surfaces you're building here, they actually work for iOS and Android too. But the iOS and Android versions are still in beta. But as you can see here in front of me, I have the Notes client apps where you can see in the Surface Designer here, nothing is actually generated. So all of what you see in the app here is completely dynamically generated.
Okay.
And this means on the iPad, I now have, let's just clear the notes here in our session. I now have the ability to touch a button on my iPad to add a note with that text
Wow.
at the current timecode location. So this means you now have an iPad where you can, in real time, as you're playing back a session, your client can sit on the client couch and give you timecode stamped notes.
Nice.
Yeah.
No, very helpful, definitely. And the fact that then you can export those notes so you can embed them into the session as well, so that you are, if you're handing this on to somebody else, you're not dependent on them having SoundFlow as well to be able to read those notes.
That's exactly right. Yeah. And we plan for this app to be a lot larger in the future, so that you can do real-time assignment of a note to one of your collaborators on a project. So you can also use it for project management.
There's an awful lot here, lots of information, lots to get hold of. Is there a user forum? How do you provide that sort of level of support?
Yeah, we do have a user forum at our website, and it's also embedded directly into the app. We're very happy whenever people ask a question, and usually we direct them to ask in the how-to section, because this generates a lot of content where people ask, how do I do this? And then someone answers. You can see, I think we have hundreds of questions and answers in here already. So having it embedded directly in the app really helps. If there's anything in the forum you can't find an answer to, you can either ask yourself, or you can check out our help section, which has a complete reference of all the commands that you can use to control Pro Tools, for example. Getting started, some basics, how do you change a shortcut, assign a trigger, and a few video tutorials. And as a very new thing, we actually also have for each of the packages that you install. So let's say that we install the dialogue editing package here. There's additionally a package form just for this package. So this means if you have a question for the dialogue editing package, something's not working, you can ask it directly here.
Excellent. Now, just coming back to these packages, presumably as they're in a store,
right,
they are extras and there is a price implication, presumably?
At this moment, actually, all of our apps are free. So that means they're included in the SoundFlow Cloud Pro subscriptions. You
briefly mentioned a moment earlier on about the different subscriptions. So perhaps just give us an indication of essentially the way that one goes about buying, in inverted commas, SoundFlow.
In essence, we have two primary products for sound designers. There's the SoundFlow Cloud Indie and the SoundFlow Cloud Pro subscriptions. The Indie subscription is designed for those who don't want to create their own macros, they don't care about programming, any advanced stuff, but they like all of the added shortcuts that we add to Pro Tools. So with the SoundFlow Cloud Indie, you get over 500 commands to control Pro Tools and all of the keyboard shortcuts that follow. With the SoundFlow Cloud Pro, you get everything. So this means you can create your own macros, your own decks, your own apps, your own surfaces. You can install from the store.
I see there's a facility one, because obviously there's quite a bit of this that's online, in inverted commas.
Yeah.
Obviously, a lot of the film facilities are kind of, not connected to the internet. Do you have anything specific to support these particular users?
Yeah, as we all know, MPAA requires that facilities are offline, and there's an air gap for security reasons. So we designed something called the SoundFlow Facility Server, which is basically a mirror of our own cloud server. So it acts the same way. So you get all of the same functionality. And for example, with the Notes app, you'll be able to collaborate on a project in real time between users on different workstations, or you can have clients adding notes in real time on their iPads. All of this will continue to work, but you will have a local server instead.
So it'll be all effectively an intranet rather than the internet, and you'll have a mirrored version of your server effectively sat the correct side of that air gap.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Just looking at this, there's the free version, so just 20 free commands. So is that 20 of the 500 plus effectively?
Yeah, that's correct. We added this free version because we wanted people to have a way into the product. But essentially, we actually give out SoundFlow for free for 30 days. So all of these subscriptions you can have for free for 30 days. And if for some reason that you weren't able to really utilize your trial, we're happy to extend it.
Okay, so thank you very much for taking the time to sit down with me and show me what SoundFlow, and more importantly, the latest version of SoundFlow 3 can do.
Thank you so much, Mike. Thank you for having me.
All right, take care.
You too. Bye.